Greetings. Just wanted to put together a few thoughts, both for those who are currently watching to look to see how my progress is going with writing my books, editing them, and getting them published, as well as just for future reference. Others in the future will want to know, as a writer, what was I doing at this time. It's May 1st, 2024. I've been seriously writing, editing these books since summer of 2017, and I've been trying to publish since basically the winter of 2018. So quite a while. Currently at 124 rejections from book agents. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 of those have been repeats because I queried them earlier on in the process, and it is highly recommended, plus some of them even say so on their query forms, to query them again if A, you think you've done enough editing and polishing that you've got a better product, and B, because they might have not had the time to really give your work a proper assessment earlier, so you give them another chance. That's probably the ones that specifically say, yeah, please send it to me again. But again, since I've been doing this since 2018, it's been a few years for them. The first rejection I received that I documented was in 2020, April of 2020. So that's interesting. That would be... So maybe I didn't query the early... Well, no, wait. Yeah, I was querying other... I looked up and queried some of the big agents that do some of the bigger stories early on, but when I started using a particular website, I realized I have the information I should document. So yeah, early 2020 I started to document my rejections. So I've technically probably have more, but because I wasn't using this particular website, I never heard back from them, and it's just an assumption. If you query or write to a book agent and they don't get back to you, they are not interested in your work. Anyways, not necessarily here to talk about that, but it pertains, so might as well mention it. But just wanted to just lay out where I am right now with the publishing process. Like I said, as far as my written records go, goes all the way back to 2020, trying to query agents, and have received 124 rejections. I think I still have, I might as well bring it up in my bookmarks, the amount of agents that are currently have possession of a query. And hopefully those of you watching this video already know what a query is. Hopefully I don't have to explain that. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 open queries that were put in within the last 2 months. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 old queries, which have been put in even as long back as 2 years ago, and they haven't responded. It might not be 2 years, it might be just a year and a half or so, but still. From what they've said, especially on this, using this particular website in these forms, Query Manager, these things will stay open until they finally get around to looking at them. So I'll eventually hear back from them. This list used to be much bigger, this old queries list. And old queries are basically queries that I don't hear back from within that 2 to 4 month period. It's usually closer to like 2.5, that I cycle through and do some new ones, because I'll send like 12, 15 queries at a time, and about half of them will get back right away. The other half they're slower at getting back for whatever reason. Their lives are different. They could be very busy, whatever. And so basically I'm left with about a quarter or an eighth of the ones that queries that I've sent out will go long, and that's what this older list is. So yeah, there's close to a dozen queries that are sitting in somebody's inboxes that I could hear from, and one of them could be one that loves my book. But I guess the main focus of this video is just to lay out that it is frustrating having to wait. A whole lot of other factors go into the frustration, because I'm currently 39 years old, and I've been trying to figure out a way to create passive income, and I've tried 24 different small business items that were, I thought, within my ability to perform, to do. And I quickly learned that it either wasn't going to work for me, or there was certain roadblocks that I couldn't overcome. But yeah, 24 different businesses since the year 2010, 2011 or so. And I guess in a way this is the latest, but it's also, I think, the most successful, you could say. No, that's not the right term. It's most likely to be successful, because there's obviously a whole lot of fiction authors out there, not only making good income on their books, but some of them making amazing income. So, at the very least, these books, once they're published, will bring in some kind of passive income for me. I don't really know what that's going to be, but it does have the potential, because it's science fiction, something that's very rereadable, something that appeals to a very broad spectrum, especially among young people, and the large classification of people that would be considered nerds. It's just like any of the other science fiction out there, and if you do a little digging, I mean, besides the obvious big stuff, I mean, Star Wars and Star Trek isn't book form first. There are a lot of books involved in that, but they're not book form first. But that's like a good example of how popular nerd stuff is. And obviously that extends across so many genres. Games and internet culture and movies, TV shows, board games. I should have specified electronic games or computer games or whatever, but nerd culture is huge. So it's a large asset that can be tapped by writers. So, because there's obviously, within the entire author's writing career fields, there's so many different kinds of books, and there's, from my understanding, a large majority of them that they're not going to make you money. You write a technical manual on how to do something, I mean, almost any nonfiction book, it's only going to sell so much. Some obviously do better than others because it has content that a lot of people are interested. Obviously, political content, historical content tends to be at the top of that list. But yeah, the big sellers, the one exception being the Bible, though you can make an argument that that ties into mythology and therefore that fictional wheelhouse mindset that people enjoy. But anyways, that's a special book and it's different. The Bible, aside from that book, yeah, fiction books sell the most. One of the easy, low-hanging fruit to point at is the Harry Potter series. The Chronicles of Narnia series are another one. Lord of the Rings series nowadays. The Song of Ice and Fire, more popularly known as Game of Thrones. And you could go on. There's so many. There's people who are millionaires because of writing fiction books, all kinds of fiction books. Some focus on the fantasy element, some focus on the science fiction element. But people definitely at least make a living writing fiction of all kinds, or they do even better than that. So it's a good choice. I mean, if you're going to pick a venue of writing that's going to make you money, science fiction is really good. And I didn't choose it because of that, of course. I chose it because that's my passion. I love science fiction, and I want to create an amazing set of characters and universe, and really an omniverse with these characters in it that's set in a science fiction / fantasy world. So that's what I'm doing, and I do, whenever I get the urge to sit down and work on it and I get in the mode, it's a lot of fun. That's how come I already have these giant, and they're huge, They're novels, 300,000 plus books, 300,000 word plus sized books ready to go. Books 1, 2, and 3 are ready to go, and 4 is well on its way. I've been slowly writing. Like I could. The story's already hit. The story's already there. Definitely up to books, all the way to book 8. So for book 4, I would only need a few good writing sessions, a couple days, and I can knock it out. But I'm in no rush because book 1 needs to be published first, and that's the focus of the attention and effort, obviously, because that's what starts the series. But yeah, it is a bit frustrating having to wait, but there's plenty of people who have stories, plenty of writers who've come before me who have waited much longer, so it's possible. There's also those who are lucky and they were blessed, and they only had to query 6, 7, 8 agents, and they got somebody right away. They only had to do query work for 5 months, and they found a book agent and or a publishing company. And it's at this point, because some people might jump in and not have been following this journey, not know much about it, not know much about why I'm choosing to do traditional publishing, where you try to find either a publisher or a book agent. They're like, why don't you self-publish? And the simple answer is, I'm poor. Self-publishing is what you do when you have money. I ain't got that, so I can't do that. And I did do a test. I've published one other book on Amazon, because that is for free, just to see how well it would do. And it was in the religious materials topic, so according to statistics, that should have been an easy high seller, but it didn't sell a single. I've still to this day not sold a single copy of that book. I know another guy who's published a book recently on a hot topic. He's even got a title for the book that's like eye-grabbing, eye-catching, and technically it's something you would think Amazon or somebody, at least Amazon, would want to push, like it's in their agenda wheelhouse kind of thing. But it's only sold one copy since it's been published, and it was published last year. So, and the thing is marketing. You need marketing. You need some way to advertise. You need some kind of social media presence, that sort of thing. And lest someone goes to say, well, you could do that, Facebook and blah, blah, blah. No. I've already done a number of things in the past and gotten a feel for they're small audiences that I have in my social media accounts. They're not very big. I've already gotten a feel for what they're going to do. When it comes to this book in particular, I might have 400 friends on Facebook. Maybe 20 or 30 of them, and that's too high. Maybe 20 or 30 of them will actually buy the book. It's probably not even going to be that many. Because if I publish the book, about half of them, because, as far as I know, none of them are rich. They're all just like me. We're all American peasants. Half of them are going to hope I'm going to send a signed copy. I mean, a good handful of them I've already promised I would, so I would. But that's with traditional publishing. Because if it's self-publishing, I'd be, paying for all that. But yeah, bottom line. Self-publishing, hybrid publishing, whatever. All of that requires your own money. Traditional publishing requires none. Literally zero. It just requires your time and effort. You put in the time and effort to create a manuscript of whatever it is. And then you put in the time and effort to query agents. You just go to their websites. I already mentioned I use Query Manager, and there's another one out there I already have ready. Don't remember the name at this time, but if I ever go through all of the several thousand agents that are available on Query Manager, and I've felt like I've queried all of them, and the ones that are available queried multiple times, and I've exhausted that website, I will then move to the other website where there's thousands more available. Because, There's billions of us on the planet, and there's millions of people out there who are book agents or work with companies or whatever. At least I think there's millions. There's definitely, based on everything I can see online, at least several 100,000. But yeah, no money. No money. You don't pay for a single thing. You simply contact and send, according to their instructions, which I said I wouldn't explain, and now I am. Go figure. You simply contact and fill out a form. That's the query in that form. They're asking for certain questions about you as the author, and then questions about your book, and they ask you to pitch it to them, that kind of thing. And then, of course, they ask for a particular sample. It could be a few chapters. It could be so many pages. I don't think anybody's requested the full manuscript of book one, because they only need a sampling to get a feel to know, could I, as an agent, love this material, get behind it, and help market it for this writer. And if they do, if I find that one, that's all it takes is one, who loves my book and says, I can be your agent, I'm going to sell this for you, then they're going to ask for the full manuscript, and then they're going to hook me up with whatever publishing company they're associated with, or if they're not associated with one directly, that's their job. Their job will be to find a publishing company for me, and that's their expertise. That's literally what their life's work is to be an agent for writers. So that's why I look for a book agent. And you can also look for book publishing companies. I have signed up years ago now with a company or an organization, because I didn't pay anything, an organization, and they have links to a couple other organizations you can use, but I primarily rely on the one, because they send emails once a month to let you know, hey, these publishing companies are accepting manuscripts. And I've sent those out. I want to say I sent one this morning. I think I did. Or was it last night? Because I got an email that said, hey, this company's accepting. And I looked and I was like, oh, okay, science fiction. And they want 70,000 plus words? I've got that covered. So, yeah. You can send out your manuscripts or copies of it to publishing companies. And they will more often want the full manuscript, but not always. Anyways, speaking of that, and this is back in September, so they may already not be interested. But they might be, and I might get a call or an email or something in the future with a publishing company, the editor or editor's team letting me know, hey, we love this book, let's get this thing published. And in that case, I am sidestepping the book agent and the fee that they would require and just working with one publishing company. And if it's a good company and they're going to get my book distributed well and they're going to work with me in editing it and publishing and all that, then it's going to be a great deal. That's the benefit. So the benefit there, I guess the biggest benefit there is I get to keep a little more money. But a book agent, which I don't know what I'd rather have, because I don't know enough to know. I just know there's a few pros and cons. The book agent, one of the big pros is they will work, because it's their job, and they will earn a commission from the company that they sign on to. They work to get you the best company that meets your needs as the writer and that's the best fit for your book. So that's the benefit there, is you've got somebody who's an expert in their field, or at least has the ability, because if they could be new or younger, but if they have the ability, the access, the information, and the know-how, and they have a network with people that know and are experts in this entire publishing field, that is a huge resource to have a book agent, and it's a huge plus, a huge positive. But even if in the future, even if I went with a publishing company right off on my own, like the one that responded to me and took a copy of my full manuscript in September, I should say requested. I gave it to them because they requested it. Even if I publish with this company without an agent, it is very possible in the future I will be approached by other agents who will say, hey, can I help you, can I be your agent and help you market future books? And I will probably say yes, because an agent that comes to you because they like what's going on, like what you're doing, they like your first book, Well, I mean, that's just easy. And then you didn't have to query it for them. And yeah, they'll collect their commission from then on, but that's not a problem. It's going to be a small percentage. It's not very much. The publishing company is going to take the largest amount of, whatever the books make to obviously cover their costs. But you, as the writer, are still going to get the second largest bite. So, the second largest chunk of royalties. Well, it is royalties, but, whatever the books make. But anyways, currently, not having any book agents that are interested, and only one publishing company that hasn't gotten back to me since, which could mean in this world, these things do happen. If publishing companies don't come back to you, it is a good chance they're not interested. So I have to keep that in mind, and that is why this is frustrating, because it takes time. And all the time that I don't have that passive income, I have to work, regular 9-to-5 job to pay the bills, to live. And the rat race is not fun. It's not something I enjoy. I've been sick of it a long time, but it's what it is. It's what you have. There's, particularly in my specific context, there is nothing else that I'm aware of that I can do. Like right now, because some people say, well, you can always get in the stock market. You can always take a couple hundred a day. So from what I've been able to look up, I would have to pay money for companies to do the stock market for me, because I don't know enough to do the stock market. It would be foolish for me to try to do stock market stuff. Because it is true, you can make money. Anybody can make money off that if you know the parameters. You've got to know, all right, what resource or item or commodity you are buying into. You've got to know its lowest price and its highest price. What can it possibly sell for? What is the lowest? What's the bottom end? There's going to be a price range. So unless you know those details, you cannot do stocks. You can't do trading. Obviously, there are people who that's their life work. Those are the ones that you pay to do the trading for you. That way you make a profit each year. And really, that's the bottom line. Like, you have to have money to make more money. And all of us American peasants with our 9-to-5 jobs, we only have so much money. You've got to live, so all those needs, and then you got to have a little bit of fun, but you do want to keep that, minority of the money you spend. It leaves very little for savings, and of course, we all know if you've lived long enough, you save money up, and then something will come up. If it's not an emergency, it'll be some vital need, like, oh, this person's getting married, they need you to come out to the wedding, and it's going to cost you money. You're not always blessed with a friend that covers all your costs. It could be a graduation, it could be a family reunion, it could be a long lost friend that you finally connected with and you want to go and meet them. Like, that'll be important to you, but that'll cost money. And normally there goes, half your savings. So, frustration. Frustration of being stuck in the rat race, knowing ways that could get out. Because I know lots of ways that you could, like different businesses. Like if I had, but it always requires money. If I had the money, I could go and open any number of businesses in whatever town I'm living in, and I know it would do really well. But it's irrelevant, until I have the money to do that. And of course, if you're paying attention, you can't even do loans because you've got to have collateral. I have no assets to speak of for collateral. This is why it's frustrating. This is the closest I've ever been to possibly getting some real passive income. And the one thing holding up between me is this little process of book agent, publisher, advance, that first advance check. Which on the low end, an advance that a publishing company gives to a new writer, when they accept your book and say, okay, we're going to publish it, here's their first paycheck, here's the advance. The low end is 4,000. That's the bottom line. That's the lowest that I could find online in my research. That's the lowest that's paid out, $4,000. They say it's normally somewhere in the range of 10 to 4,000, 4 to 10,000. So any of those numbers for poor little me would be amazing. You know, if I get a $4,000 check, I'm going to buy a vehicle. You know, and obviously anything more than that, besides buying the vehicle, which is going to be used, because I'm poor, you know. Unless you make, you know, 6 figures a month, you shouldn't be buying brand new vehicles. That's right, 6 figures a month. You should not be wasting your money on brand new vehicles. But yeah, if I get, you know, 10,000 or more, I'll be looking more seriously at, is there any way I can go to a bank and get a loan now that I have some cash that could be used as collateral to do my business idea? But that's the bottom end. Top end, the highest number that I've come across that a brand new, never before has written or published anything writer has been given as an advance, and it might be higher than this, but this is the highest one I've heard of, I've seen documented. $225,000. $250,000, or, you know, close to it. $225,000 he was given in advance. And his books, they were fiction. There was a love story. It was drama. The publisher he worked with, just, they thought this book's going to sell well. And it did. It did. I don't think the books were out even 5 years, and somebody in Hollywood got a hold of it and said, these are my great movies, and they've made movies. There's 4 movies out now based on these books. And again, it's a stupid drama love stories. Like, if you've seen the movies, it's like, okay, it's not the greatest story. Like, the books are probably a little better, but people eat this stuff up. So it's a huge range, from $4,000 to $225,000. Of course, I don't expect nothing like that. I will be happy with a $4,000 check advance, because I'm pretty sure I'll make more once the royalties come in. And that's how it works. They send you the advance, and then they start publishing and selling. And as soon as what they paid you is covered, they start sending you royalty checks. So I'm very sure that even if they give me a low ball number, they will be sending me royalty checks probably shortly after, based on what I've seen with how other science fiction books have done. And again, yeah, the vast majority of them just bring in some nice income. We're talking, you know, several hundred to several thousand extra dollars a month. And that's obviously going to be nice. That's going to make life a little nicer. Definitely make saving up for some bigger projects a little nicer. But there is the potential for this kind of book to jump into the living nicely, I don't have to work a 9-to-5 job anymore kind of living. And yes, that could even take time. A good example of that would be George R.R. Martin, the Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones series. If I understand and my memory serves, he published the books when he was a young man in his late 20s, early 30s or whatever. And they did not really sell. They did not really make him much of any money until like just recently, just a few years ago, when Game of Thrones became a big deal on TV. That was because for some reason, all of a sudden, his books hit a market of people where they started sharing it, and it became popular. And of course, somebody at the HBO company who had access to, you know, who's creating TV shows were like, oh, look at this book series. This is popular. This would make a great TV series. And there you go. Now he's rich and famous. But he's old. He had to wait decades before his books made money. So that could happen to me. I could get this book out, get it published, and it sells some, but doesn't take off till years down the road. This is life. We all know this. These things happen. I've already, as I mentioned earlier in this video, tried many times to start home businesses, online businesses, network marketing businesses, whatever. Tried different things to see, hey, I see this is working for others. Can it work for me? And for one reason or another, it did not work for me, or things just got in the way and stopped it being a possibility. Um, One of the easier ways that most people get their get money for investing is get a good paying job, which used to be tied with getting a college degree. Those of us paying attention to the academic world these days know that degrees are not worth as much anymore, and that's largely the education system's fault. They've focused more on the paperwork than on actually learning, so more and more corporations and businesses who need people with skills, they don't care if you've got this, and that degree. It's like, oh, okay, you got a doctorate? Okay, that's something. Doctorate, you've been in the system long enough, you're going to have picked up something in order to have earned that degree. So, doctorates still have value, but obviously they're very hard to get and extremely expensive. And there's obvious exceptions. The medical industry is one of those industries where you can't get by just being good academically. You have to know your stuff, at least within a certain context. So obviously all the nurses, all the medical people in, up and coming doctors, they know something. Anyways, it's kind of a sidetrack. All that to say, that's one way that used to be a good way of getting money, but it's increasingly difficult. Besides that, other complications if you didn't get the degree you were going after, usually having to do with money. College costs money. If you don't got the money for college, then you can't finish the degree. This is just the nature of being poor in America. But we still got it good. I was just going over it the other day. It's like, as much as I'm frustrated at the situation, frustrated that, like, even buying a home, even buying a car, you have to have this big fat down payment these days. You can't just go in with a good credit score, sign a bottom line, maybe pay your first monthly payment, and walk out with a car. No. You got to go in there with a big fat several $1,000s down payment to buy a used vehicle. That's just the way it is. It's the way it is right now. We can thank our lousy politicians, the ones who are in there for themselves and who don't care. I'm just thinking of the banking system that screwed me over with the house I used to own. They couldn't work with me in a situation when the government made a mistake, lost my paperwork, and I wasn't getting the GI Bill money while I was in college, so house got foreclosed. Thankfully, at least as far as record keeping goes, they only keep that on your record for so many years and then they remove it. So in the future, if I want to buy a house, I can if I have $15,000 for the down payment. Oh, and that's a cheap house. That's not a nice one. We gotta have much, much more money to buy a nice one. Yeah, being poor in America, it's good, but it's rough. Because, hey, I've got access to good drinking water. I've got a nice place to sleep, AC, heat. I've got all the amenities I want. Just this town alone, all these churches, all these stores. I've got so much. I've really got it good. Really got it good, especially compared to all the third world nations out there, all the people out there who are struggling just to get the next meal, just to find half decent clean water to drink, or even a doctor. Yeah, we got it good here in America, even while we also have it rough, because taxes aren't fun, as I've already been over. Our limited funds and how the money just goes, the cost of things these last several years, of course, being one of the worst. But speaking of work, I got to go to work in an hour, so I should probably end this video since we're over a half hour of rambling and kind of sort of giving a situation update for where I am as a writer. I should finish off specifying, if I haven't said already, it's the 1st of May, 2024. Got 3 books fully written. They've been edited and polished 8 or 9 times through. I'm already starting going. I think I'm doing the 9th. It could be the 10th. I've kind of lost track. It doesn't matter. Each time I go through, it gets better and better. Fine-tuning, tightening up, adding stuff that needs to be added. And even then, I know, I come across sections like, that needs more work, but I'm not ready to do it yet. So, little by little, I'm getting the books better. So book 1 is in the best shape because I just finished the most recent edit with it like a couple months ago. And I've been trying to get through book 2, I think. Let me pull it up because I have it sitting here. I'm on chapter 17 with book 2 going through the latest edit. But also with writing, and I might as well pull it up since that's kind of the purpose of this, is to update everything. With writing book 4, I am, let's see, oh that's right, because in book 4, like, there's a bunch of stuff that have been inspired, or that's, I have like a kind of a filled out outline of where the story goes right to the end, but I'm trying to look here, the last thing, okay, there it is. So chapter 31. Chapter 30 is the last completed chapter in book 4 that's ready to go. Whereas chapter 31 here, I have, that's like where I last stopped because I have it marked in blue. Where I have, it's kind of sort of an outline form of the story that's here. I've written out dialogue, I've written out scenes and everything, but it's not fine-tuned. It's like, you know, plain clothes describing this happened, this character's here, he said this, he said, you know, so it's not fun to read. So that there's not a lot of work needs to be done here. Starting with, I don't know. It's page 387. Page 387, book 4. And then, like I've mentioned before, I have outline and some filled out stuff just like this for books 5, 6, 7, and 8. And the story's all here. I already know what's going to happen. There's only, there's a lot of details technically that got to be worked out, but most of that stuff's easy because the whole world's here. I feel like I can just access that universe anytime I want to. Like, picture the character right now. I see them, what they're wearing, what they're doing. It's like I'm looking at a movie right up in here. It's kind of weird, but that's just how my brain works. So I see this world, I see this character, I see it. So I just need to sit down and write, and I can just go. I can like go right to that time period. Oh, he's doing this, this happens, oh, this thing happens. Yes. That's where I'm at. Don't think there's anything else I need to put into this video. Lord willing, I won't have to wait much longer for a book agent to contact me or that publishing company or another one, because there's a handful of publishing companies that have a sample or a copy of my full manuscript that could respond in any time, imminently. But it could also be years. Other writers have had to wait many decades sometimes, from the start of their query process to when they finally found a book agent. I'm thinking of one lady. Now, she didn't specify how often she queried, though she was doing it while she was working a full-time job and raising kids, so there's that. I am working, well, technically I'm working a part-time job right now, but the general manager knows I need hours, and he knows that I have no problem being relied upon, so he gives me 45 to 50 hours every week. So I get good hours, and when something happens, I'll be covering for other people, which happened last month, and I'll be doing 90 hours a week. So, you know, or maybe it's not 90. It's that was 2 weeks. 90 hours, 2 weeks. Whatever. Point is, I've got a job, and it's good. It's giving me pay. It's more than enough to live on. There's a little extra for savings. Just trying to save up for a vehicle right now. That's the first thing I need to save up for. Once I get a vehicle, I will probably be putting aside money for eventually getting my own place, and it'll probably be a rental because I can't afford to buy. Not unless the book advance is big. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to buy a house for a long time. Not here in Delaware, anyways. So yeah, I'll be looking to rent my own space in the future, and that'll be just wherever works good. Because one of the reasons I moved back to Delaware is this should be a really good location for a writer to headquarter out of, because of all of the cities nearby. So it'll make it something that's within my financial feasibility as just a normal, American peasant to drive to Baltimore, D.C., Richmond, New York, Philadelphia, all of this. And even other cities, they're not quite as far, but even then I could always, fly or whatever. But point is, as of right now, this seems like a strategically good place to be as a brand new novice writer. Delaware. That's one of the reasons why I'm here. Another reason being it is kind of like home, and also that was the opportunity that opened up, being able to rent this room and have this job right here. Yeah, worked out really well. Stuff that you can only attribute to Providence, because I sure didn't do it. Nope. I feel like I have very little control over most of my life. There's only so much you can control. Everything else, that's in God's hands. That's in the hands of fate, as some would say. But okay, I think now I've said everything I need to say. For this update, for this writer, thanks for listening. And if you're in the future and you already know how successful I am, well, you just got to look into the mindset of me back in the day. Peace.